Angela Rayner destroys Starmer's reputation in public, leading to his downfall. Just 48 hours ago, Keir Starmer stood with confidence, proudly outlining his grand Ukraine peace plan, positioning himself as a key figure in the international diplomatic landscape. Today, however, he is a broken man, his carefully crafted image shattered by the brutal reality of international politics. This was not part of the script, neither was Donald Trump's sudden funding freeze nor J.D. Vance's savage takedown of Britain's diplomatic naivety. Starmer's carefully curated global persona has unraveled in real time, just as his domestic crisis reaches a boiling point. The timing couldn't be worse. Let's rewind to when Starmer unveiled his 4-point plan for Ukraine. His grandstanding made him appear as if he were a diplomatic genius, but we can now see how badly that aged. Starmer, perhaps blinded by ambition, thought he could swoop in after Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting in the Oval Office and position himself as the hero, hoping to become a bridge between two powerful leaders. Yet, as we now know, this idea was more fantasy than reality. The most cringeworthy moment came when Starmer confidently told MPs in Parliament, "I've not seen reports of the United States withdrawing support for Ukraine, and as I understand it, that is not its position." This, of course, was said mere hours before Trump announced his decision to freeze military aid to Ukraine. This massive misjudgment exposed Starmer's desperate attempt to appear relevant on the world stage without checking his facts. It's a glaring example of how detached Starmer is from reality. Starmer's promises of a coalition of the willing and the deployment of British troops and aircraft in support of a peacekeeping mission collapsed when confronted with the truth. None of the major European powers, France, Germany, or Italy, committed to any sort of military intervention, and Starmer had no plan for how Britain could even follow through. His bold claims were swiftly punctured by military experts, who pointed out that the UK's military is already stretched thin and lacks the resources to deploy troops as he had promised. This was never about practicality. It was about optics, trying to appear as a crucial player while failing to understand the constraints Britain faces. Starmer's team had briefed journalists ahead of his Ukraine summit that it would be a game-changing week for diplomatic efforts. However, what followed was the complete opposite, a catastrophic collapse. Trump's announcement that he was pausing military aid to Ukraine threw a massive wrench into Starmer's plans. The Labour leader had staked his reputation on ensuring the continuation of military aid to Ukraine and exerting economic pressure on Russia. Once Trump's decision was made public, Starmer's promises evaporated. This fiasco revealed Britain's diminished global influence and Starmer's astonishing political naivety. He had entered the international stage believing he could change the direction of US foreign policy with a single conversation, only to be completely sidelined. It's honestly embarrassing. For him and for Britain. What's worse is that he appeared to believe his own hype. Starmer genuinely thought his diplomatic charm offensive would sway Trump's position, and this was his fundamental mistake. It didn't stop there. The backlash intensified when J.D. Vance, Trump's vice president, went on Fox News and mocked Starmer's peacekeeping plan with outright contempt. Vance dismissed the idea of a European peacekeeping force and sneered at the notion of sending 20,000 troops from countries that hadn't seen combat in decades. Vance's comments were an open insult to the British military, which has fought alongside US forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. The military community was outraged, and former Veterans Minister Johnny Mercer called Vance a clown. Starmer's response to this mockery? Silence. His official spokesperson refused to acknowledge the disrespect, instead reiterating admiration for British troops. This diplomatic failure, being publicly mocked by a key U.S. official, illustrated how little respect the Trump administration has for Storer's leadership. It was a painful reminder of Britain's diminished standing in global affairs. Keir Starmer's rapid fall from grace on the international stage serves as a stark reminder of the brutal reality of global politics. His ambitious Ukraine peace plan, which was meant to solidify his status as a key diplomatic player, instead exposed his political naivety and Britain's waning influence. The series of events, from Donald Trump's unexpected funding freeze to J.D. Vance's public ridicule, not only shattered Storer's carefully crafted image but also highlighted the limits of Britain's power in shaping international affairs.